People hate to wait in jewelry. It has to be done in a timely fashion. My pet peeve of fine jewelry is that all jewelry has to be comfortable to wear.
Commercialism is taking over craftsmanship. If you think from customer's perspective, think about their comfort, you can never go wrong.
Create something you're proud to pass it on to their daughter or their granddaughter. It doesn't have to be $1 million. And if it's beautifully made and crafted well, it will survive.
You're sitting in an international market where people from all the countries flock in to get their jewelry done. How do you maintain between commercial designs and profitability?
Even in fine jewelry, you have to do it. It has to be commercially viable. In the old days, everything was done by hand, from a hand design. You make a piece and it's going to be in your family for generations.
Italian manufacturing involves lots of patience.
They're very skeptical of a foreigner coming and telling them how to do something.
If you believe in fairy tales, stick around this podcast until the end. I'm sitting at Beauty Gems booth in Bangkok show with the director of production, Mr. Joseph Cifarelli, who is a mastermind behind these beautiful pieces and is the reason behind what Beauty Gems is today. They also did a very cool collaboration with Her Royal Highness, Princess of Thailand, Srivanavari, and everyone is talking about that collection, and that got me in awe. And they are the masterminds behind crafting most beautiful pieces for many brands that they do not usually talk about. And this particular podcast, we would be covering the journey, how we came out with this collaboration with Her Royal Highness and these beautiful pieces. Hi, sir. Welcome to the Jewelry Pod.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure to have word with you. And before starting, we had a very informal chat where you told about how you being Italian and based in Bangkok for nearly 20 years.
Yes, yeah. 20 years.
This is a very interesting topic in itself. Can you start from where you began?
Yeah, I'm a third generation jeweler. My grandfather was one of the founders of 47th Street, the Diamond District. He had a fine jewelry workshop, mostly platinum Art Deco bracelets in 1923. And that's when he moved to 47th Street from downtown Manhattan. My father was a jeweler, my uncle was a jeweler, and I'm a jeweler today.
Italians are really strong when it comes to, they support this Italian craftsmanship a lot and produce in Italy, sell through Italy. You being in Bangkok, this is very different direction to that narrative. How this transition happened?
Well, I was the director of the workshop at Harry Winston, and I was then recruited by a company called Vivid Collection. We decided to explore making jewelry in Bangkok, and a friend of the owner, Charlie Hollander, knew that there was a very fine designer jeweler here, that Beauty Gems had a base already of European craftsmanship, and that it might be a good fit. So I came to Thailand, spent a couple of weeks here, and looked at the workshop. Said, okay, we can do it, and I spent about a year coming and staying 2 weeks and working with the jewelers, and then finally after a year or so I decided that maybe it's better if I just stay here, because I wanted to train them to make the things the way we wanted them made, like in a very European handmade kind of feel to it. Same as Cartier or Van Cleef or Winston, or which I was used to. And
that was very much resonating in the collection. I had a look at the pieces that crafted for this collection.
Yeah.
And it was very evident. The essence of those brands was very much evident.
And the method of manufacturing them is very similar in a lot of ways. Of course, in the old days when I worked at Winston, we didn't have computers and we didn't have laser machines.
Dad.
We didn't have CAD, no. Everything was done by hand, from a hand design, and you had to just take it from there. But now we're able to work with CAD, we're able to work with lasers, we're able to do actually a lot more. It opens up a lot of different avenues. But the basic manufacturing is still thought of as in a very handmade type of product, that fine jewelry, important jewelry, something that can be an heirloom that, you make the piece and it's going to be in your family for generations, or it's not going to be tossed away like so much jewelry, melted down.
But imbibing Italian culture or how Italians see manufacturing, that I believe involves lots of patience. And to translate that tactics to local craftsmen here, was it challenging for you?
It's challenging. I mean, I was telling your assistant before that when I first came here, they're very skeptical of, like I'm a foreigner coming and telling them how to do something. And I remember one particular story. I wanted them to make the lock on the necklace a certain way. And they initially said, you cannot do it that way. So I said to them, well, let me borrow your tools and your bench and I will sit down and show you, and they couldn't believe it. Because usually foreigners are just owners of companies or, they don't really, and they don't get their hands dirty like I was used to, so I just sat down and I made it and I showed them the lock exactly like I wanted it done. And I think that allowed me to gain a certain amount of respect with the craftsman because, being a craftsman takes many, many years of study and learning and doing. And so you cannot tell somebody who's been a jeweler for 20 years, do it this way, because if you've been a jeweler like I have for now 55 years, you can speak to them in a different way and say, it's possible, but you just have to do it this way, you have to do it that way, and I'll teach you. And basically it comes to teaching, passing on the craft, which is basically how it's been for thousands of years. It's an apprentice kind of situation where you teach your craft to the next guy coming. Some people are better than others, but you have to do it that way, and it takes many years. So
I believe credit goes to you. It's not about they understanding your way of manufacturing. You were flexible and agile too, to understand to read their minds before actually telling to do it in a certain way. Fast forward today, and I just love the collection. Congratulations for that collaboration.
Thank you.
And tell us, was it a brief given by Princess? I'm sure she believed in your manufacturing and how the piece actually going to come out. So what was the whole conversation like?
Well, with the royal family, I mean, I've been in the background of the whole thing. I'm more, my role is to work on the actual technical aspects of, with the necklace, you have what type of connection and how it sits and all, the design team met with her and got her ideas and made designs, and then she approve or not approve. And, it's been a collaboration of a lot of very talented people, here at Beauty Gems and the royal family and her Royal Highness. And, but basically it stems for her vision. Her vision was to do this. And, so all the designs reflect her initial vision. Then we, as the technicians, the jewelers, the craftsmen, make it a reality, which is basically the way all art and jewelry and everything else works. You have somebody who has the vision, and then you need a team. It's a team. Jewelry is a team sport, basically. You have the designers, and you have the jeweler, and you have the setters, and you have the polishers, and so it's a step by step process, and it's quite complicated and takes a long time to make a fine piece of jewelry. But it's I'm very happy with the results so far, and we have new designs coming, so that's exciting.
That's interesting. Interesting. Just from manufacturing point of view and how manufacturing is perceived in Bangkok, how do you maintain this fine balance between commercial designs and profitability at the same while you are known for the fine jewelry?
Yeah. Well, even in fine jewelry, you have to do it. It has to be commercially viable. You have to.
Yes.
You cannot just. In certain cases, there are certain cases where you can just go completely wild, and cost is not an issue. But 90%, you have to understand how to make it efficiently, how to make it quickly. People hate to wait in jewelry. You cannot say I'll finish it in 3 years. It has to be done in a timely fashion. So, but that's where all the things like the CAD design comes in, was a big help. And a team of jewelers working on it. That one guy is better in a certain thing, and another guy's better in a certain thing. So you have to kind of find the right people to do the certain aspect of that piece of jewelry. And Beauty Gem's been in the business for 50 years, and obviously they know what they're doing. So it becomes commercially viable, where you can make it a profitable situation. Every jeweler wants to make it a profitable situation. We don't want to make pieces that are unsellable because they cost so much to make. Of course you have the stones, and, but you have to be able to do the thing in a timely fashion, do it well, and do it in a commercially viable way. So, and that's just something you learn through experience and tricks of the trade.
And you're sitting in an international market where people from all the countries flock in to get their jewelry done. And what do you think business over the years have taken a turn? Did you notice a trend over here, or do you think that market is going in certain way? Or
yeah, well, in Thailand, the Thailand market is very different from the European or American market, and most of the jewelry that I've worked on since I've been here has been tailored towards the European market and the American market, or an international market. So it's very traditional, very style of Harry Winston, Bulgari, Van Cleef, Cartier. Very
classic.
Yeah, because of Thai craftsmanship is
experimenting, going out of the way.
Very ornamental, and so her designs are an interesting combination of both things. It has that Thai feeling, but at the same time, it's very also, it can be worn anywhere in the world. So that's a very nice aspect of it that I like myself. So happy about that, because that's my background. I see things for a world market.
Yeah.
And because most of the companies I've made jewelry for have been, companies like the ones I mentioned that cater to the whole world, and a high level, high end jewelry, important jewelry, you would say. And all of these things are in that level. So, the craftsmanship, workmanship, the quality of the stones, everything is very high level.
What are the key takeaway a manufacturer of fine jewelry can take this from your experience?
One of my pet peeves, I guess, about fine jewelry is that all jewelry has to be comfortable to wear. It's got to be, when you put a bracelet on, it has to feel good, and a necklace has to feel good, and the earrings have to feel good. So you have to be very aware of those kind of things, because sometimes designs can get away from you, and having something that's not comfortable, and it might look good when a model's wearing it, but would you want to wear it to a party for 4 hours?
I don't know.
So that's always been, and I think you'll find that with every fine jeweler. You have to think about that. A lot of jewelers don't think about that, which is to their detriment, because you want something that sits nicely, looks good, doesn't flip over, doesn't hang off your ear. There's a lot of factors involved, and that comes to the experience of the jewelers. How to understand the right way to do it and the wrong way to do it, and that's that's why I'm here, because I've been doing this a long time, and I've made a lot of pieces of jewelry, thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of jewelry. So sometimes I've forgotten what I've made. Yeah.
With that mountain of experience, if you have to give 3 tips to manufacturers today or jewelry business today, what that would be? It could be your late learning. It could be your something you believe it could have been great if you knew it early.
There's a lot of things. I mean, you always make mistakes.
Yeah.
Another thing about a good jeweler is that they can fix their mistakes.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with gold and precious stones and platinum, and so mistakes can be very costly. So but a good jeweler can say, oh, I have to move this a little bit here so that it's going to be better. And you, as you learn, usually that's how you learn. You learn by doing the wrong thing, unless you have somebody who can tell you to do the right thing. But even so, you always put yourself into it, and every good jeweler puts their self into it. So sometimes they have an idea that they think is good, but maybe it's not, but then you learn from it. You say, okay, well, that was not a good idea. So now I know the right way to do it, And I think, that comes with experience. I think anybody who's starting to manufacture fine jewelry, you have to, the most important thing is to have somebody on site who has a lot of experience, which is getting harder and harder to find.
A lot.
We're not
commercialism is taking over craftsmanship.
Yeah. And you want to create something that they're not going to want to sell for old gold and melt down, like
treasure for life,
which a lot of jewelry is basically, so you want to create something that's like they're proud to pass it on to their daughter or their granddaughter or something like that, say, look at this thing, even if it's small. It doesn't have to be $1 million, and if it's beautifully made and crafted well, it will survive, because all the jewelry, if you see the estate jewelry that you see or antique jewelry, there was a lot of other jewelry that was made at that time that didn't survive. And the reason was because it wasn't made. But the pieces that are fine, they're good quality, made beautifully, they somehow stick around, because people just don't want to let them go.
And that's a great advice. To conclude this conversation, one final tip you would love to give to the listeners of Jewelry Pod.
Well, my grandfather always said, when you buy a piece of jewelry, turn it over and look at the back.
Ah, okay.
And see the quality of the workmanship in the back of the piece of jewelry. It should look fantastic when you look at it, but if you turn it over, it should also be equally fine. So, and that's a great way to tell if something is made well and crafted well, is to look underneath it, like the bones of it. How was it, the attention of detail, is it in a fine piece of jewelry, no matter how big it is or small. I always give as much detail and I give as much time to the inside as I do to the final look. And that's how you can always tell. If you look at a piece by Van Cleef made in the 1930s and you turn it over, it's
equally beautiful. Symmetry is the main thing.
Yeah, the craftsmanship, the symmetry, the cleanliness. Is it clean? Is it polished? Is it nice? That's what you want to look for. Because then it's a fine piece of jewelry. It is.
Thank you, Joseph, for sharing that wisdom. Thank you again for sparing your time on the jewelry.
Oh, I had a great time, and good luck to you too.
Thank you.
And your listeners. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for sticking around with us for this interesting topic. Beauty Gems going to create more pieces in collaboration with Her Royal Highness. Let's keep an eye on upcoming collections. Thank you. Till we meet again.